everybody, to a brand new episode of The Geek Buddies! Hey! Well, you know, for some of you, you might be seeing us on camera. We're doing a test run right now to see what we look like on camera.
For some of them?
Yeah,
the
well,
of them
I mean, because I don't know, because I might drop this, I might not drop this, and some of them may want to watch it, some of them may just want to listen to us. So just trying it out, because I think, we all have kind of decided that we think being on camera is a good thing for us to kind of get you all to get to know who the hell we are. So we've talked about all the things that we do. We talked about all the things that we've been on, worked on, and what have you. But being on camera is a positive next step, I think, for us.
I'm just really excited that you chose the day that I just recovered from the flu to put me on camera for the first time. So thank you for that.
Well, listen, Oprah.
Definitely looking my best.
Oprah interviewed The Rock on camera after her suffering with the flu. I figure you can handle an hour.
All right.
Oh, so in this situation, Vogel's Oprah?
Yeah. We're not in front of a live audience.
Great.
Right? Anyway, we're coming to you live from my office. I am John Rocha. I'm a writer, producer, and host all around this city now, freelancing all over the place, having a good time. Who else is on the show?
I am Michael Vogel. I am a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm a television actor and an animation writer, where you may have seen me on Silicon Valley, 911. And next week, Thursday, February 6th, you'll get to see me in the one-hour premiere of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Nice!
Hey!
Oh, you can finally talk about it.
It's on IMDb. It's
Okay.
been on it for a little bit, but I just wanted to make sure.
And you don't know if you're like on the whole show or if you're...
I think I'm on. Because basically the hour premiere is just 2 episodes.
Right,
It's just
right,
two half-hour episodes back to back.
But they're connected.
Yeah, sitcoms are not that serialized, but I'm in the second episode, so I'm in the second half hour. Yeah.
All right.
And as far as I know, all of my scenes are in.
I'll have you know that there are some sitcoms that are serialized, and you get the to be continued next
true.
time. Next
Right.
time on The Golden Girls.
Right, on a very special...
Golden Girls was not serialized.
No,
on a
there
very
wasn't.
special The Golden Girls?
There wasn't a to be continued?
They would do 2-parters occasionally.
Yes.
But it was not a serialized show.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, that's fine. I trust your thought process on this. I'm just saying, Arrested Development, that was a serialized sitcom,
Yes,
right?
that was a very serialized
so they do
show.
sometimes are serialized.
Yes. Yes, you're right.
Okay. That's all I wanted to hear. All right, well, there we go. All right, well, we're all excited to see you on the either 2 episodes or hour
It's just
long.
it's just the one.
Okay.
It's just the one episode.
So it's 2 episodes back to back, but it's 1 hour.
But yeah.
You're having a really hard time
Yeah,
with this.
because I don't understand. If they're back to back, that implies to me there'll be 2 different intros, 2 different themes playing. Like the theme will play twice.
Maybe. I do feel like they've done hour-long premieres like this in the past, and they don't do the credits in between. But when the show goes to Netflix or it goes to a streamer, it does not do that.
They'll break it up.
Yeah. I bet it's going to be two credits.
Okay. I'm currently watching a serialized sitcom right now. It's called Uncle. It's a British sitcom that's actually really damn good.
Is it about an uncle or someone crying for mercy?
We have all, Mike and I have decided this week that Shannon has veered into dad jokes territory. He is a daddy joker now, and he doesn't want to accept
What
it.
is it? What is it he said? When
You
you
don't
guys,
want to accept it.
When you guys sat down to the Birds of Prey
He said,
screener, what did he say?
He said, let's see if this film takes flight. Let's see if the birds
I
of
think I
prey
said, let's see if the birds of prey take flight. And then you said that was a dad joke. I'm like,
did.
no, the dad joke would be, let's see if these birds of prey have wings.
The fact that you think that there's any distinction between those 2 jokes is what makes you a dad joker.
Yes, very true. What's the one he did with us on text yesterday?
I don't remember.
It was bad.
It was bad. I was literally half delirious under my flu medication, so I don't really remember.
I will still take your approval of me calling him out as a dad joker valid.
Oh, yeah.
Even though you were on the pills.
Oh,
okay.
I might have been recovering from that cruise, but there's some things that you're a dad joker.
You are a dad joker.
Agree to disagree.
And then And then I sent a picture of Jack Nicholson because he is a total dad joker. I don't care what anybody says. Oh no, this was on the other Geek Buddies stream. Anyway, all right. Well, I don't have time to find it. We got a lot going on.
You can
watch
you
the
can
Geek Buddies live, where you can see Rocha scroll through his phone.
You can
so
do this.
exciting.
You can do this when we just record it now.
Yeah. How is that a dad joke? We were talking about McDonald's and about how I thought Birds of Prey could be a little bit of a fast food movie. People can consume it and then maybe come back to it down the road. And Shannon said,
Well, no,
JG
our friend Jonathan Gabay
said,
well, I've never craved McDonald's, so that tracks.
Yeah.
And I said, JG ain't loving it. Ba, 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 ba.
I'm trying to see what.
None of this is helping.
Yeah. I see now why you don't book commercials. I sense it.
I'm having a wonderful time.
Anyway, all right, so as you all know, and by the way, Michael, we'll talk about it in just a second, but as you all know, the way the show works, or if it's your first time listening or watching us, certainly your first time watching us, but if you're first time listening to us, unless you're friends with us, then you've seen us do this many times, but unless it's your first time watching us, what we do is each of us brings up a geek news item, we talk about it, and then we jump into a main topic. And what did we decide our main topic was going to be today?
Captain Marvel 2.
Captain Marvel 2?
The announcements with Captain Marvel 2.
And maybe I'll throw a monkey wrench and throw in a second main topic, which would be the Fast 9 trailer that's dropping today. What's your thoughts about the Fast 9 franchise, the Fast and Furious franchise? We could have a conversation about that. It didn't drop.
It's going to be a quick conversation.
Or a fast conversation.
Oh, see, no.
Your jokes are making me furious.
Oh, no. Well, before we get another sequel to that, let's move on to Mikey. You were on this cruise ship. You're on a gay cruise. It was your second gay cruise. You weren't here last week.
True.
Tell us about the experience.
Well, it killed me, clearly.
Yeah. The cruise flew.
There was about 20 of us in our LA crew that went, and we all got back, and nobody wanted to admit they weren't feeling well, but 24 hours later, somebody finally said, I'm not feeling great. And it turns out like half of us have the flu. Like
wow.
We all got sick. Like,
okay.
It was intense, but it was a lot of fun.
Okay.
It's interesting. It's intense. Gay
least.
cruises are a lot.
This
pretty much sums up my week in all the good and the bad. I went to go see a stand-up comedy show on the boat, and the stand-up comic called out a guy in the audience as the worst hookup that he had ever had.
Whoa!
And that guy was me.
Oh, Jesus.
So that was fun. That was a good way to start the week.
By name, or did he say that guy?
No, because he said, this is the worst hookup I've ever had. He's in the audience tonight, and I don't remember his name. So then I went, it's Michael.
Wow. I appreciate your balls.
Yeah, it was a lot. So what had happened was, a friend of mine who was on the cruise said, hey, one of my buddies is a stand-up comic. He's doing a set. I'd love to go see him. So me and George, who you both know, and another guy said, oh, we'll go with you. So the four of us go, and we're all sitting there in the theater. And it's like in a little lounge, and there's maybe about like 200 gay guys. And the guy comes in and gives my friend a hug, and then he sees me, and we see each other. And I'm like, hey. And he's like, hey.
Now, did you recognize each other right away?
Oh, yeah. And he gives me a hug, and he leaves. And my friend goes, oh, did you know each other? I'm like, yeah, sort of. And I was like, I got to tell you guys something. And I won't tell you the story because it's funnier his version of it.
Right.
I will say that fortunately, I told the exact same story. It's not like I said, oh, this horrible, there weren't two different versions. But I kind of tell this story about what had happened between me and this guy. And my one friend goes, hey, you think he'll make that part of the act? And we all had a good laugh about that.
Yeah.
And halfway through his act, he goes, you know, gay cruises are crazy. There's gay guys from all over the world, but gay world is still pretty small. The worst hookup I've ever had is actually sitting in the audience tonight. And so, like, my friends just turned to me, and I'm like, and he goes, he lives 2 apartment buildings down from me in West Hollywood. I don't actually remember his name. So I'm like, it's Michael. He's like, Michael, right. And he's like, Michael texted me one night and said I should come over. I was drunk. He said, you live 2 doors down, come over anyway. He came over. He busted into my apartment. We made out. He was really drunk. Nothing really happened except for, and I've never done this before.
Whoa.
I somehow gave him an iPhone-sized hickey on his neck.
Whoa. iPhone size?
Which he was super upset about because it was June and his parents were in town visiting and he was having breakfast with them the next morning.
Okay.
And so he basically had to like wear a scarf in June.
Right.
Which you can do that in Los Angeles.
Well, in Los Angeles you can get away with.
I think if you're gay, you can get away with scarf anytime.
So fortunately for me, like in the world of worst hookup stories ever, could have been way more embarrassing. But still, the entire story in front of 200 guys. So yeah, that was how my gay cruise started.
Wow.
Okay.
That was a good start to my week.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And that is the photo of you laying on the ground.
Yes. So then I sent these guys a photo of me in the middle of the week at a big party, just like laying on the ground because this guy was friends with one of the friends in our group, so he kept showing up. And by like the 9th time he showed up, I was like, oh my God, enough. But then we made our peace. It was fine. Gay guys all get along after a while. It's all good.
And in the photo, Michael's laying on the ground with his flesh, like he had his shirt off. And I said, well, this is why you got sick. You don't lay with your bare flesh on the ground that everyone has been treading across.
That's the worst thing that we all did on that boat that week.
I didn't say. I stopped it. That was the ground people walked on. I didn't say what else was on.
No, it was a lot of fun. A lot of looks, a lot of parties, a lot of themes. Very exhausting. I don't think you guys could handle just the sheer amount of partying that happened.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
So I think I'm vacationing wrong. Like between Atlantis cruises and Burning Man, I keep coming back from vacations where you're supposed to be refreshed, and I need a week to recover.
But that never happens. No one comes back from vacation perfectly refreshed. They need a day or two to recoup after that. Your day or two was 5 days.
Ooh, it's sweaty.
I'm just saying.
You are directly in the sunlight.
Well, it's got a little more to do with the fact that you're getting older now, so you can't recover as quickly as you used to. I'm just saying. That's what happens. I'm just saying.
Wow. Truth bomb.
That's why when we vacation now, when we go out of town or go to do anything, we always try to come back on Saturday. So we have that Saturday or Sunday.
I do like the Sunday recoup.
Right. The Sunday recoup is necessary. Back when I had a job. All right. Anyway, let's move on.
Wow.
All right, well, there we go. Thanks for that update, Mikey. We're all glad you're back. Did you listen to our episode last week?
I did.
What'd you think?
You know what? I thought it was good. I liked,
oh, thank you.
I liked when you said at one point, Shannon, I hate to admit it, but Vogel's right. that was one of my highlights. I was surprised that with the Clone Wars trailer, you missed the big thing, which was Amidala's baby bump.
Right.
You didn't talk baby bump, which was kind of the craziest thing to come out of that trailer.
But people didn't even mention that until like 9 hours after the trailer dropped.
Sure, but like when I watched it, that was one of those things I was like, not to dive into that trailer again, because you guys did really a good job of talking about it.
Thank you.
The fact that we're going to see how far it goes up to Revenge of the Sith or overlaps, because Anakin doesn't find out that Padme is pregnant until Revenge of the Sith.
Wasn't that a criticism of the trailer, is that she really didn't have the baby bump in Revenge of the Sith at the beginning?
It's going to be interesting to see like how far they go. Like I would be really excited to see if it actually does sort of overlap with Revenge of the Sith, and we get to see Order 66. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's going to be really interesting. But you guys did a nice job. It was fine.
All right.
Nice job. It was fine.
Yeah. It's really good. As I used to say in the acting business, when you don't want to criticize.
The costumes were great.
You did really great work.
Yeah.
You did really great work.
No, what you say is, you're never going to be better than you were tonight.
That's the worst.
When someone's, you're never going to be better. And then they're like, thank you. And you're like, whew, just step away.
How'd you memorize all those lines?
Wow, you said a lot of words on stage.
You brought a whole new interpretation of that role that I never thought about in that way. I gotta say, there's a lot of crafty ways to compliment people without complimenting people.
John did ask me in college once. He got done with a show, and he asked me afterwards. He said, "How did I do?" And my response was, "It's not your best work."
Yeah, he was honest, which
not
I
your best.
appreciated.
Was this The Crucible?
It was The Crucible.
Oh, The Crucible was a joke, though. That whole production was a joke.
It's a comedy. If you haven't seen it, very funny.
The way they directed it certainly was. Oh, poor James. Anyway, before we say the wrong names, let's move on to our Geek Buddies news items of the week.
All right.
Who wants to start?
We'll just start and go down the line
sure.
here?
Why not? Let's do it.
Okay, so
As soon as you get on camera, there you go.
So it was announced last
He's
week.
a TV actor, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, I'm used to a better camera.
Oh, there it is.
It was announced last week that the Obi-Wan series had been put on hold.
Yeah. So
collectively, the geek world cried out, asking for Kathleen Kennedy's head.
Anything that happens is about Kennedy.
Yeah, and then Ewan McGregor, I guess, did an interview with someone, and he's like, listen, the show is still going to come out when it was supposed to come out. We're just filming later. They want to go in, instead of doing 6 hour-long episodes, they're going to do 4. They're getting a different writer. It also came out that allegedly the story was a little too close to what The Mandalorian already did.
Oh.
So I have thoughts about this. I would love to hear your all's thoughts.
Well, I do. It's coming up. You said, like, man, everyone is just coming for Kathleen Kennedy.
Yep.
I mean, we've all talked about this over and over and over, and clearly, like, there is a sense that Star Wars probably isn't being managed at the best level, but man, like, anything happens. Like, people could be like, Mandalorian Season 2 is going to be 3 days late, and people be like, get Kathleen Kennedy! Kennedy. Like,
There's something wrong with the parks. Kathleen Kennedy.
Like, why are people so? Why do you think that is?
Well, I think at first it was legitimate. I think there were some people who had issues with the way she was handling things and the way directors were leaving and coming on and creative differences and all that. The Lord and Miller thing didn't help. But I think as it's gone along, I've changed my point of view. At least my point of view has changed on this thing. And I feel like people are just wanting to rage at someone. And they don't want to rage at Lucas anymore now that he's kind of shirked away. They can't rage at Bob Iger because Bob Iger is so far above this. So Kathleen Kennedy, unfortunately, this is how it works. If you take over something or you want to be the person, you get criticized. And if you can't handle the criticism, don't take the job. The fact that I that's what I admire about Kathleen Kennedy. She takes it and she rolls it with it in stride. You never see her like shoot her mouth off and in any way that's inappropriate to the brand or to the franchise. She always defends her decisions. Yes, are they politically well-versed explanations or defenses? Yes, but that's what makes her smart. That's what makes her a good executive overall. And look at the amount of money they have made, $6 billion under her watch. That's not a negative. So overall, I just think people want to rage. And I do think for the first time, some of this is a little bit misogynistic. At first, I thought it was just about her, just about the fact that the people were mad. Now I do think the fact that anything goes wrong, they immediately want to bring out the pitchforks and relight them again, or the whatever it is, the
torches,
the torches, and relight them again. That's where I find the issue. So
I'm gonna light a pitchfork.
Hello,
double duty.
Well, triple actually.
Oh, okay.
That is not a dad joke.
I don't know. The three-pronged attack. That's what it is. All right.
Yeah, I think I was disappointed when I heard the news.
Yeah.
It's just disappointing because I think that out of everything going on with Star Wars, Mandalorian was something that everybody agreed was all in all by the end of it was like a big win.
Yeah, but no one's going, Kathleen Kennedy, great job on Mandalorian.
No, true.
That's the problem.
And I guess there was just this sense that what was happening on Disney Plus with the Star Wars TV series seemed like all engines firing, like everything was working, like, and so then when this news comes out too, I think there's sort of just this Star Wars fans are in this really weird spot of like, we want to be excited and then stuff keeps happening.
Yeah.
Like for those who loved it, great. For those who didn't, but like Rise of Skywalker didn't necessarily have that Avengers Endgame feeling of like, wow, you really did it.
Right.
At least for everybody, didn't necessarily feel that way.
Yeah.
And then Mandalorian, people were like, okay, I'm kind of digging this. And then Clone Wars, that trailer that you guys spoke about last week, like everyone's feeling like that's going to really be great. So everyone's starting to get excited again. And then this Obi-Wan news comes along and you're just like, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, can't we have nice things?
I got two thoughts on it. One, I think she is probably aware of the state that Star Wars is in and be like, listen, if this is not ready to go, we are going to wait. Like, we're not going to just rush something out. Let's wait. At the same time, and I'm not saying she would be directly responsible for this, but the lack of communication that apparently is happening within Lucasfilm, that they're delaying it now, and if this is in fact legitimate, that it was too close to The Mandalorian, it's like, did you not know beforehand?
Right.
I mean,
Fair point.
Yeah, I am curious about that because, like, it's not like they didn't know what The Mandalorian was about. And the only thing that makes sense that could be, that's not true. Maybe it's something we don't know, but like, yes, The Mandalorian is taking care of this special Force-sensitive child, and Obi-Wan Kenobi is watching over a specific Force-sensitive child who we all know. But, like, that's kind of what that show's got to be.
Right.
Like, I don't know what else it is. So it's surprising that happens. I will say, and I mean, as much as I'm disappointed, you bring up a really good point, Shannon, which is we don't often hear about this, but like one of the issues with Skywalker, one of the issues with a lot of movies, when Justice League, when we're not happy with a movie, it's usually because on the studio side, the executives were like, this is the date, we dated the movie,
Right.
You have to meet this date.
right.
And the fact that she's saying, let's stop for a minute, let's pump the brakes, and even if that pushes it back a little bit, let's get this right. Ultimately, that probably is a good thing. In the specific case of Star Wars, I think it just underscores this feeling of like, who's flying the ship?
Right.
Yeah,
Like who's got the vision?
Who's at
Because
the
it just
wheel?
doesn't seem like there's a vision.
Right.
Except for Filoni. Filoni has a vision.
Right.
You know who else has a vision? Scarlet Witch. Hey-oh.
We'll get there in a minute. That's
Okay,
the main
fine.
topic.
All
But
right, fine.
hold on to that one.
I just thought I'd dad joke this up too. I mean, I just want to try.
Well, originally filming was supposed to commence this summer. Now they're saying maybe January.
Yeah.
January of next year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wonder where, and we're getting, once again, January next year is 2021. This is when her extension is supposed to run out. So, like, where is the issue? Like, what is this them moving towards? And Filoni now has signed on to be part of the Kenobi situation, which he wasn't initially. So does that change things too?
Yeah, look, I think that we're going to see, and I mean, this is not any kind of amazing announcement. I think everybody assumes this, but I think you're going to see Filoni, Favreau, Waititi. I mean, everybody who sort of like touched Mandalorian, who are
Deborah Chow.
Yes, Deborah Chow.
the geek approved people who are doing the things where everyone on our side of things is like, yes, that's the thing I want. I think we're just going to slowly start seeing their names on more and more and more things.
Yeah.
Because this is true. I mean, like, it would be shocking to anybody listening to sit in some of these rooms. Like, executives don't always think they'd know better. They understand that they don't know. So when they find somebody who they don't know why, like, there are executives at Disney who are like, I don't know why they are freaking out over Baby Yoda, but whatever, bring Favreau in the room, ask him what to do. He clearly knows.
Wow.
Like, that's like, you do get to that point where you're like, there are certain names that are starting to be trusted, and those are the names I think we're going to start seeing more often, which will be good.
Well, you had that experience yourself in animation, right? There were people who were like, I don't know about this. Send Vogel into the room. He knows about this kind of stuff. When you were an assistant. Yeah, right? Like, they put you in. I know it's one of the great stories you've told me before. Is like, they didn't know about.
That is how I got that. The reason that I got promoted from assistant to manager at Sony Television was because Marvel was on their way over to talk about Spider-Man, and nobody in the entire building knew anything about Spider-Man except me.
Yeah.
That is a true story.
And you had just been hired only a few months before?
No, I'd been there for a while.
Okay.
But I literally got the call where they said, "What are you wearing right now?" Which I was like,
a Superman shirt? Why?
I was wearing like a button-up and jeans, and they were like, "Great!" And they're like, "Marvel's coming over for a Spider-Man meeting. They want to know what Sony wants to do out of a Spider-Man show." I'm like, "Okay." They were like,
go down to props and get a suit.
They were like, "Don't introduce yourself as an assistant. We're just going to call you our animation expert, answer all their questions."
Ooh. Wow.
And it was the scariest moment of my life. And yeah,
but it worked out.
It did. I walked into the meeting with the two co-presidents of Sony at the time, and Marvel sat there, and Marvel said, Marvel, like it was like the Marvel,
the Marvel
logo.
Just drumming his fingers on the table.
The two Marvel executives sat there, and we all introduced ourselves. And I'm just going to stay as quiet as possible because I'm so nervous right now. And they said, well, we know what Marvel wants out of Spider-Man, but what does Sony want out of a Spider-Man cartoon? And the two co-presidents just looked at me.
That's good.
It's like a come to Jesus moment in my life. But I just started talking geek shit, and it all worked out. So there you go.
I love if Marvel walks. He's got a cigar and a hat on. What do you got for me, kid?
Right.
I've had this property for decades. What do you got? What's your new take? Josh Keaton? Perfect.
Yeah. And then we hired Greg Weisman, which was the smartest decision I ever made in my life.
Very true. And who we'll hopefully have on Geek Buddies at some point down the road. That would be great to have Greg on. All right, we'll see what I mean. I'm. Oh yeah, one last thing on this. Quickly, Underworld, that footage dropped that they were going to do for Star Wars. It was like 10, 15, 20 minutes or something like that. And a lot of...
8 minutes.
8 minutes. It was 8 minutes. It felt that way when I was watching it over and over again, though. But this is an interesting thing to drop on the heels of the Kenobi announcement. Someone brought up when I was on SEN Live the other day that they probably did this, or they possibly did this, to kind of quell some of the negative feedback about the Kenobi thing, drop something that no one knew had actually been shot, is connected to George Lucas to kind of appease the fans. What do you think?
That possibly true. What did you think of the footage?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it looked good.
I mean, it's 2010 as well. Like,
yeah.
You know.
I mean, I think the great thing that they did with Mandalorian is keeping the world fairly uninhabited. So you don't have to have... It doesn't look like an empty city, like with a lack of background performers. With this... It was a populated...
When you're literally on the most populated planet in the Star Wars universe, yeah.
But it looked like, okay, you've got a lot of folks around, you got a lot of background folks. I didn't get through. I don't think there was a story or anything. It was just sort of like, here's what we're doing. This person is sneaking. The stormtroopers are trying to stop him. I thought it looked good. It looked like if that was the test footage, the actual show probably would have looked very good.
Yeah.
Look, it struck me as, if you read the description of what George Lucas was going for, which was sort of like, it's like Sopranos, but in the Star Wars universe,
Right.
and it's about the underworld and all this stuff, it's really cool. And then you watch this footage, and granted, this is just test footage of some random sequence. Maybe there's a lot more meat to it.
Yeah.
But like, I was kind of struck by, ho-hum, this is the same Star... Like what I really love about Mandalorian, what I really love about some of the stuff that's happening with Star Wars right now is, and what I love about Clone Wars in general as an animated series is, it takes the stuff that we know and adds newness to it. There's new characters, there's new ideas, there's new stuff. And watching sort of a robed, hooded person stealing some stuff for, I assume, rebels or whoever, and the Imperial, the stormtroopers chasing her. It was like literally the same Star Wars thing. It didn't all of a sudden feel like Sopranos in Star Wars land for me.
Right.
So I was kind of like, probably for the best that this was not the thing that we got. But I think if someone took, and I feel this way about the prequels too, I think if somebody took the ideas that George Lucas had, because I do think that the underworld and the crime bosses and everything as part of the Star Wars universe is great and a really untapped area for really good storytelling. So if somebody ever wanted to take those ideas and do a whole like Sopranos with the Hutts and the other things, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, but also I don't think this was purely technical though.
For sure. That's why I was watching it and I was judging it, and then I realized I was judging it unfairly. I think technically, especially for the fact that it was made as long ago as it was made, it looked really good.
Yeah, I thought so too. All right, let me check real quick, and I'll cut this part out, so let me check real quick.
Are you going to cut it out?
Just want to make sure. Oh, I just want to. Okay, maybe I won't cut it out. There we go. It's a democracy. All right, let's move on to our next geek news item.
It's all brand new, folks. It's all brand new.
We're figuring it out. I promise I'll get black curtains too.
What's here? You go. What's up?
Yeah, it's Transformers time. Woo!
I think my flu is coming back.
Or as we might do in the elevator. Anyway, all right, let's move on to...
And maybe we'll cut it out.
And then maybe we'll cut it out. I'm just saying, it's a nice reference that only we know. All right, this came from Justin Kroll over at Variety, a guy I've met many, many times, and he broke this news on Variety. He likes to break news that Paramount Pictures is looking to revamp Transformers and do 2 separate Transformers films. One might be connected to the Bumblebee universe, and one would be an entire revamp, which is weird. They're kind of hedging their bets on this situation, which I'm not always the biggest fan of. No directors have been attached at this point, and they've got writers, and I'm trying, James Vanderbilt's going to write one, and then Joby Harold is going to write the other one. But, I mean, Bumblebee made $465 million. That's not a necessarily negative take to get, but when you're used to making over $1 billion or close to $1 billion per film, it's a bit of a hit. Do you think that, why do you guys think this is happening? 2 separate, and I'll go to that former Hasbro executive first. Tell me.
Well, look, I mean, for both Hasbro and Paramount, I mean, the Transformers franchise is, to your point, a multi-billion-dollar franchise.
Yes, it is.
So, look, I will say that I have very mixed feelings about. I used to love Transformers so much, and
not the movies. You mean the
not the movies, but as a brand, and I think it's part of my PTSD of my time at Hasbro. I love it a little bit less, but I think that anything that they're going to do with Transformers that gets it away from the Michael Bay Transformers is good.
Okay. Your thoughts?
I think that even for those that love the Michael Bay Transformers,
Enjoy is a good word.
enjoy them, I think that as much of a spectacle as they are, as great as they were for just the special effects and just the holy shit of it all, from the first movie on, they kept getting further and further and further away from the core story that makes Transformers.
Yeah.
And the great characters that they left on the table. I mean, you have Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and sometimes Megatron, but from Starscream down, the characters that had been developed through the years that the fans really loved didn't really get executed the way that a lot of people wanted them to.
Right.
And so I think that there's a lot of juice to the Transformers franchise that has just not been squeezed. And I think that Paramount understands that. I think Hasbro understands that. I just hope that they find the right storytellers who are actually going to tell a story that is what we all want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's a lucrative property.
Right.
And ever since Transformers 1, which Transformers 1 I do enjoy. I think it's a good movie.
There's 10 to 20% of Transformers 1 that is Michael Bay silliness that I'm this is dumb and you could have cut 20 minutes out of this.
Right.
And then Transformers 2 was like all of a sudden jumped to like 80% base silliness.
Which was also made during the writer's strike.
Which was also made
right.
But then from 3 on, it didn't get any better.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But it's a lucrative franchise. It's not shocking that they're going to have multiple scripts and developments.
Yeah.
As far as continuing the Bumblebee universe films, I don't know. I thought the first one was good. I thought the idea was better than the execution, even though the execution was pretty good.
Okay.
I had read that one of the other reboots that they were talking about doing was Beast Wars, which that was...
I had heard that too.
Yeah.
That was kind of after I'd gotten out of animated programming for a little bit. Is it...
It's very
is it
Beast
enough?
Wars, I would say that Beast Wars, not to the degree, but the way that we talk about the original Star Wars trilogy and the prequels, Beast Wars is the same. Like, we are of an age where the original Transformers is our thing, and we're like, oh yeah, Beast Wars was that thing that came after. But there is a generation of kids that Beast Wars was their introduction to Transformers, and they love it.
Okay.
And it could be really cool. I mean, like, seeing something like Beast Wars on screen would be great. I think that if it were me, kind of relaunching your main Transformers line and then doing some things like Beast Wars or some of the weirder stuff as sort of side movies that could eventually all come together in some kind of big Transformers universe would be a really good way to go. Yeah. I don't know that Paramount or Hasbro has the patience to do it that way.
Right.
So we'll see.
Well, the two writers, Joey Harold is the one who wrote the first one, or is one of the people writing it, and he's an executive producer on John Wick 3, the Parabellum one, Robin Hood, Underground series, King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. So these are not necessarily things that are standing out to me as a positive. He did the screenplay for King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, which, full disclosure, I walked out of. He is working on Army of the Dead, a Ronin screenplay, which might be it's the Frank Miller graphic novel, which is fantastic, and then a bunch of other stuff. So he's still a relatively new writer in terms of the amount of stuff that he's doing. The other guy is James Vanderbilt, and let me look him up real quick so that people have an idea.
He's been around. I want to say he was connected to the Amazing Spider-Man stuff.
Well, he produced Zodiac, Independence Day, Ready or Not, which is great. Is he part of that crew? The people, that crew that directs movies like the Ready or Not movies and things of that nature. I forget their name right now. Oh, anyway. So I mean, it's an interesting mix of two dudes and what they're going to create. I'm just happy that it's not dead. I personally think they should have done a sequel to Bumblebee. Brought it out in the summer, then you have a good idea of whether this works or not. This reeks of their overreaction, DC's overreaction to Man of Steel. It didn't make as much as it should have made. Let's bring in Batman. Let's shove in 4 graphic novels into one script and see if it works. And with this, I think you dropped it in December to make $485 million in December for Haley Stanfield, who isn't necessarily a main lead in big franchise movies. She's better at the smaller stuff.
I enjoy Bumblebee more than I've enjoyed any Transformers movie in a long time.
A lot of people did. I think you should have done it in the summer. Maybe you bring a bigger name talent to go alongside Haley Stanfield, and then you see what you've got. And so to me, this could be dangerous because they're hedging their bets. We'll connect it to Bumblebee, but then we'll do a revamp. Unless you're going to set it on Cybertron on the revamp for a majority of the movie, I think you're missing a fantastic opportunity to bring in even more fans.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, and this is just
doesn't have to be on Earth.
All of these, we talk about this with Star Wars, and I think Transformers is probably going to go down a similar road, is that when everyone's like chasing Marvel and saying, oh, like, how do we get that success? Like, Kevin Feige literally, and we said this 1,000 times before, but was like, hey, Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
We're gonna build to the Infinity Gauntlet and Thanos. That's a thing.
Yep.
You don't even have to have like an amazing thing necessarily, but like if we knew, even when they made Bumblebee, if Hasbro and Paramount had said, look, in success, Bumblebee's coming to Earth, here's what's going to happen, he's got to get this message to Optimus, or I forget what exactly it was, but whatever the plot was, and if that works, what's going to happen then is we're going to build to, the next movie is the Autobots coming because the Decepticons discovered this and they did this, and we're going to build to Unicron.
Right.
Like, Unicron is our Thanos. Like, the whole idea is that ultimately they're going to be in secret for a while and the humans aren't going to know who they are, but they're eventually going to have to reveal themselves because Unicron is coming to eat the Earth, and humans and Autobots and Decepticons are all going to have to work together. And we have 5 movies to do it. Maybe we'll do it in less, but like, that's our runway.
Yeah.
And just having like a goal, that's the thing. Even with Star Wars, had they just said Rey and Kylo Ren are going to get together.
Right.
Hey, Rian Johnson, Colin Trevorrow, whoever, Rey, that's going to be a thing. and we all knew, like, it just gives you something to work towards. And a lot of times with these, you're just like, you just see them sort of like they're throwing something at the wall with one movie, seeing how it does, and then waiting, and then going, okay, well, this worked, this didn't, let's try this. And like, there's no sense of a bigger thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's why TV's telling better stories than a lot of movies are right now.
I think TV's motivated to tell better stories than a lot of movies right now because they've got that platform to do so. Yeah, and I agree with you. What's our next thing, Mike?
Well, speaking of TV and awesome TV, this is the end of The Good Place.
Dun, dun,
As of when this airs, this week, The Good Place aired its final sort of hour-long episode.
Was that 2 episodes back-to-back, or was it an hour long?
This one was, well, to your point, Good Place is one of those shows that is 1,000% serialized. For 4 seasons, every single episode.
It's been 4 seasons.
Yeah. Four, they're 13 episode seasons or.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're short seasons. Like, honestly, so this is my plea to, it doesn't matter, the show is aired and ended, but like, for those of you that watch The Good Place, you know that like, one of the best shows on TV ever. And for those of you that haven't watched it, this is me telling you that now that season 4 has ended, go to Netflix, start from the beginning. It's going to be one of the greatest TV journeys of your life. It is that good. I think it's one of the most perfect TV shows I've ever seen. I think that there's maybe 1 or 2 episodes in there that aren't great. Maybe.
Yeah.
But particularly because, kind of to your point about serialized TV, this is one of the only shows that I can think of where every episode, I'm 90% sure, every episode picks up literally the exact moment the episode before it ended. Like, there's no gaps to the storytelling. So it's ultimately bingeable. It's half-hour episodes or 22-minute episodes.
22 minutes, yeah.
So you can watch those super easily. And after watching, I actually just watched this morning the final episode on Hulu, and I basically spent the morning crying into my coffee.
Wow.
It's that good. Shannon, you watched it, right?
I did. I didn't realize it was going to be an hour, but I got about 25 minutes in, and where I thought it was concluding, I was like, oh my God, this is really sad. And then I clicked pause, and I was like, oh my God, I got another half an hour of this. It was wonderful. And The Good Place, I think, is one of the rare super serialized sitcoms, in that you can't miss an episode. Like, everything is connected, and so unexpected because it's Mike Schur, I believe, is the creator's name, who's from like The Office and Parks and Rec. No one really knew what the show was when it came out. I mean, it was we just knew it was Kristen Bell, Ted Danson, and 3 sort of folks that we didn't really have a whole lot of familiarity with, and for it to. It was just interesting to see the audience slowly build, and it's not the type of show that networks really do. It's very much a streamer type show. Yeah. So to watch how he came in, I imagine like this is what it's going to be, because it's going to be 4 seasons. This is how many episodes. Here's where we start. Here's where we finish. And obviously you find some happy accidents along the way. But yeah, just a really, really wonderful series.
No, you're 100% right. What were you going to say?
No. Go ahead. You guys watch the show. I don't. So
it's what I was just saying about the picking your endpoint. Like, I'm sure you're right. They did have happy accidents along the way, but you really do get the sense, especially when you get to the ending, the final episode that just aired, that he went in and pitched a show and said, here's what the show is. Here's what the show really is. And even if he didn't tell them, he knew ultimately where a lot of this was going to go. It just feels like a complete story. Almost like a modern day mythic fairy tale almost. It's really, really just like this beautiful, amazing story. And just like Parks and Rec, it's just ultimately a show that makes you feel good. It very much does feel like you can tell that it's from the same person that did Parks and Rec, just because it's like, these are 2 shows that are really, really funny and also very sweet and just inherently unendingly positive.
That's the thing. I think in this day and age where things are striving to be edgy and we have to find the next big thing, that there is just an inherent sweetness and a heart to this show that you don't really find in most modern sitcoms.
And I remember when I watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes, I think maybe I said this to you. I said to somebody, I was like, this is really cute. I like it. I don't know how this sustains itself. Like, I don't know how you do like multiple seasons of this. I don't know where it goes.
Right.
And then you get to the end of season 1 and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The switch,
So you have to start watching Good Place.
Clearly, because I'm a massive Parks and Rec fan. And I went way back when.
Why didn't you watch it when it started? Just not your thing?
No,
or?
and it's really funny. I don't know. I guess because I don't really go to studio sitcoms anymore, or network sitcoms anymore. I've kind of like veered off into these more avant-garde or exclusive or streaming sitcoms. I've been more into that. So I just didn't grab it. And it's ironic because A, I'm a massive Kristen Bell fan, and B, I love the people who did the Parks and Rec. So it's just shocking to me that I tried to watch it at the start of the second season. I was like, I don't get what this is.
Oh, you're completely lost.
And I totally, it was a complete mess up.
No.
I just happened to be hosting TV Talk that week in place of Makuga at the time, and he's like, this is the list of shows that I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I hated it. I didn't like it. So, and I think it's because people say, because you don't understand the twist that happens at the end of season 1. I was like, oh, okay. But like, I will go see something like, I will watch that over Superstore any day. Like, no matter how much people tell me to watch Superstore, I'm not going to do Superstore.
I haven't watched Superstore.
Yeah.
I think this might be my favorite role Ted Danson has ever played.
What? Over Sam?
Over Sam Malone. I think it is.
What?
Over Curb Your Enthusiasm, Ted Danson as Ted Danson.
That's a good
Ted Danson as Ted Danson is a good Ted Danson.
Have you guys watched Curb already this
Yes.
I haven't watched this season.
It's funny.
Okay.
It's really funny.
I'll probably binge it right after we finish this episode.
No, yeah, I think Ted Danson on Good Place might be my favorite Ted Danson.
Wow.
He has the most interesting journey, definitely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And it's really great to see Kristen Bell like not disappear. Like there was a real chance after she initially blew up, after forgetting Sarah Marshall and stuff, the projects she was picking weren't necessarily getting her that much attention.
Veronica Mars,
Right.
Anna of Arendelle, Eleanor Shellstrop.
Yeah.
She's gold. She's good. She's good
She's
for
good
life.
now,
She's
yeah.
good for life.
But she did a few rom-coms, very run-of-the-mill rom-coms.
When in Rome one.
Yep,
that was terrible.
Yep.
And you thought, okay, she's going to go straight to DVD. We're going to lose her. Because I like Kristen Bell a lot. Love, really. And so to see that she's still in the popular culture zeitgeist, pop culture zeitgeist, I'm incredibly happy about that because she's very talented.
Same.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and go to our sponsors. That's for our audio people, not for our video people.
I guess you guys just get to watch what we do when we take the break, which is this.
I'm sure I'll put a little...
Watch.
All right, we're back. Mike's got to get to stuff, apparently. He's got to go throw up from this flu. All right, let's move on to our main topic. What did we say it was?
You have a double. Do you want to talk Fast and the Furious first?
Yeah, I guess we'll do a quick one. Yeah, the Fast 9 trailer has not dropped yet by the time we recorded, which I think is surprising to me because usually it drops early in the morning on the East Coast, and all the news and all the movie websites can talk about it.
It's an East Coast franchise.
I'm sorry, I'm just saying big action trailers drop on the East Coast at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. so that people can talk about it on the news shows. So it did not drop by the time we're recording this. So I just wanted to get you guys what you guys think. It's the 9th installment. John Cena is taking the place of The Rock. Is this going to be a big movie, or is this going to underperform?
The franchise didn't really come alive until like the 5th movie, right?
Well, it was reborn in the 5th movie.
Yeah.
The first 2 movies were well received, even though the second one's not that good. And the third one has a lot of defenders. But that 4th film, it felt like, okay, this is going to go straight to DVD.
But that's when they brought everybody back.
5 is
right?
when they brought The Rock in. That's when everything
But
started.
4 is when Vin
brought
Diesel and Paul Walker,
right,
they were all...
Yeah,
so
after Tokyo Drift.
I think Hobbs and Shaw did not perform up to the level that its predecessors did. It still did really, really well.
For a spin-off movie, it did really well.
Yeah, so I think Fast 9, I think that audience is loyal, and they will go wherever those souped-up vehicles take them.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have never seen a Fast and the Furious movie.
Oh, I see.
Oh, they're real bad.
Never seen them.
How dare you?
And now it turned into a thing at some point where, I mean, I've seen like parts of one, like it'll be on TV and like somebody be watching it. I'll watch like the last 20 minutes of them driving down like a airfield that's like apparently 18 miles long.
Somebody being your brother.
Yeah, sure. But like I've never watched a full movie. I think I said this on a previous episode, but like when I was at DreamWorks just released a Fast and the Furious animated series on Netflix, but when I was at Hasbro, we actually went to Universal and met with them about potentially doing it, and went through with the whole Universal marketing team, their entire DNA on why Fast and the Furious works and how it's all about family and everything. And it's actually really interesting the way they've sort of distilled this big mythology of these families and the interconnectedness of people and all how everyone is tied to everybody, and that's what the success is, and that it's like when you're in the car, you are a superhero. Like they really have like a whole science behind why this works, and it clearly does work. I think it's like any franchise, like it's gonna work till it doesn't. there's a very loyal audience, and I have a feeling that, right now we're talking about it in a vacuum. I think whether it's later today or whatever, the trailer's going to drop. We're all going to watch it. You're going to go, holy shit, that's amazing. You're going to go, that's pretty good. I'm going to be like, that looks so stupid. But yeah, I get it why people are going to go see it. Like, There's going to be some huge, crazy car thing, and everyone's going to go, oh my God. And so
I saw the first one, and I didn't think it was good. I didn't see the second one. I saw the third one for some random reason, like on HBO, and then I've not seen another one since then. I tried to watch, I think it was either Fast 5 or Fast 6, and I couldn't. Which one? They're on a frozen lake, and The Rock catches a torpedo.
That's the last one.
That was 8?
That was Fate of the Furious, yeah.
Oh, okay.
He manhandles a torpedo.
Okay, maybe that was the one. Yeah.
That's the one with Kurt Russell.
Yeah, it's not my franchise.
Jason Statham?
Do you know what I will say for the Fast and Furious franchise? Like, Transformers always drove me crazy because as someone who grew up loving Transformers and like being a nerd about all the cool mythology and the cool characters, I felt like here was a movie that was all spectacle, but there was so much good stuff left on the table. The good thing about Fast and the Furious is like there's no like no one's gonna say, oh, you're leaving the mythology behind. Like the movie is just all spectacle, and there is like a mythology and a story and the characters. Like there is stuff, but it's all within the movies, and they do that part well. Like nobody can go, yeah, sure, that's a big explosion, but back in the day there was this great story arc, and like just doesn't. You're like, so it's not my thing. It's not my thing at all. But I do not begrudge its success, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Now 8 was the one that they were filming, and then Paul Walker died in the middle of it, right?
No, 7.
Oh, it was 7.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. 8's the one with the first one they're doing without him. Yeah.
Okay.
7 was the one they brought in his like brothers to be stand-ins because they look like Paul, and they did digital altering of the technology.
Gotcha.
Honestly, which was really creepy and weird, and you could tell when they were putting Paul Walker's face on his brother's body. You're like, ooh. And so that's why 8 was more about moving on from the situation, how they come together. Charlize Theron is the villain. Mm-hmm. There was a lot. So and Charlize is coming back for this one. And she's supposedly now on the side of Dom Toretto and these guys.
Isn't that what always happens?
Yeah, always like Jason Statham kills Han, and people went nuts when they like kind of redeemed him and put him with The Rock, and people were like justice for Han, with the hashtag, which I thought was ridiculous.
No, didn't they say that the Fast and Furious movies they were going to stop at 10, right?
Yeah,
but Hobbs and Shaw.
Vin has nothing else. See, there's not stopping at 10. Vin's going to do it until he's in a wheelchair. I mean, Bloodshot's not going to give him a new franchise. That's for damn sure. So, he does
have that video online that he filmed where he was like thanking his fans and then did that creepy dance. Mm-hmm. You've seen that, right?
I missed that.
I'm just.
That's the movie I want to franchise on.
Nothing against Vin. Look, it's tough to make a successful franchise in Hollywood. He has done that, and he has become the executive producer. Whatever his issues with The Rock, which seem legitimate now that they've replaced him with John Cena, they're there. So he's going to try and make it work for as long as he can make it work. I just think you're going to have to, at some point, bring in new cast members that will be the leads, and you move back into the Rocky Balboa's place like he is in Creed. You move essentially into the background a little bit and let the younger people take control.
I'm just really excited about the eventual Fast and the Furious Jumanji crossover. That's what I want. The Rock and all the Jumanji people versus Vin Diesel and all the Fast and Furious people. No?
I'm trying to connect it.
Yeah.
I just was thinking about The Rock.
It's clearly the medicine.
Yeah, you've had the flu.
Yeah, you've had the flu.
I got the flu.
You don't know what you're saying.
I got the flu.
He's not even looking at the camera anymore. He's looking at a hole in the wall behind the computer. Is that it? Is that where it is? Anyway, speaking of sequels, let's jump into the Captain Marvel thing. Who wants to do that?
Yeah, so Captain Marvel 2, that was one of the franchises that was not announced at last year's Comic-Con and D23, but it was announced that it is in active development. They have a writer whose name is Megan McDonnell, who is one of the writers on WandaVision, and also used to work with our friend Jonathan Gabay.
Yes.
And they also announced that the directors, Bowden and Fleck, were not returning for this, but they still might be involved with Marvel in some capacity, specifically like a Disney Plus series. I find that really interesting because I think you probably liked Captain Marvel more than we did, but I just remember watching it, and I think, especially with Marvel now, you go in to a film and you're expecting it to hook you right away. And I think this was the most, I can't remember the last time I didn't get hooked into a Marvel movie right away, but with Captain Marvel, I was like, something's just not, it's just not landing for me right now.
I think I called this like when we walked out of the movie theater. I think I did enjoy Captain Marvel more than you guys did, but I also think that I don't think Captain Marvel was a great movie.
Yeah.
I think it was a fine movie. I think I liked Brie Larson a lot as Captain Marvel.
Sure.
And I liked the relationship between her and Fury.
Yeah.
And I thought that was good. And I thought I had a lot of female friends who don't love Wonder Woman because a lot of women had an issue with the fact that at the end of the day, the thing that gave Wonder Woman the strength to like defeat the bad guy was still her love of a man.
It's love.
I'm just saying that was a thing that a lot of women felt. And so I know that for a lot of women, Captain Marvel was just more like it was all about her like overcoming the obstacles. I thought there was a lot of good stuff in it. I don't think it was a particularly well-crafted movie. And I particularly think it wasn't shot great at all.
Right.
I know that they made a big deal out of we're going to make this feel like a 90s action movie.
Yeah.
But the way it was shot made it feel like a mediocre to bad 90s action movie.
Right, and Bowden and Fleck wrote that script as well, or they're the credited writers, I believe.
I think that I said when we got out, I was like, I'm just really excited that this movie did well enough that we're going to get another Captain Marvel movie with different directors and different writers.
Yeah.
Where we get to really see Brie Larson be an awesome Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I was hoping they would replace the directors. I think the directors got the character work. They didn't understand the material overall and what makes it interesting, and that's what I think they fumbled the ball on a little bit. Not a lot. Clearly, they made over $1 billion, and they were successful in what they did in that way financially. And by the way, when you're going from an independent film director and you make over $1 billion, like you get to be like, okay, I'm cool, I'm good, I got the money, I'm good. So maybe they just came to a situation. I feel like Marvel probably looked at it and was like, this is not the best that we can do. The Russo brothers really brought out the best parts of Captain Marvel in Endgame for the limited amount of time she was on screen. Let's find a director or directors who understand how to do that better for her. And I think that I'm okay with them moving on. And yes, clearly they're not out of favor because they're talking about giving them a Disney Plus series.
Yeah, I mean, what you really never know, and you really like, there's a part of what you see on screen at the end of the day, which is that's how the director did. Like, they did a good job. But in this town, there's people that you enjoy working with, and there's people you don't enjoy working with, and that's something that you never actually see on screen at the end of the day. Like, there's people that are huge pains in the ass, but what they deliver is great.
Yeah.
And there's people that you really like, and maybe they didn't get there in this movie, but maybe they're going to be better in a series or with a smaller character or something. So you might find that like we might take these directors and they might go on something for Disney Plus. Maybe they'll go on a Miss Marvel. Maybe they'll go on something else. And all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, well, this is clearly their vibe. Like this was the right way to go.
They had actually done some work in episodic television. I mean, I think their first big splash was an independent film that I'm blanking on what it was, but then they went on to do some episodic stuff.
What I do find interesting about this, and it's more about the general reaction, and it's kind of to what we were talking about earlier, which is when Kathleen Kennedy says a director's not returning or we're going to shift gears or something,
Good point.
Everybody goes, nah!
Burn her at the stake.
And when Marvel does it, everyone's like, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smart choice.
Even with the Doctor Strange 2 news, even with everything, it's just, and I'm not saying it's not warranted or not. I just think it's very interesting to see how when Star Wars shifts gears, and like they've done it a lot, and there's been a lot of things, but like when Star Wars shifts gears, there's always this, let's go for Kathleen Kennedy's head. She doesn't know what she's doing. And when you have a director take a hike, like with Doctor Strange 2, or when you have the directors aren't returning, we're finding new people, we're doing this, everyone's like, yeah, Marvel, good. We're glad you're on top of it.
Yeah, that's not a perfect comparison, though, because I think Scott Derrickson is the only one in the age of Feige that has happened to. And at this point, Marvel has so much goodwill built up. When it happened before, when you think about like
Edgar Wright or
Edgar
Patty
Wright,
Jenkins.
yeah, with those situations, I think there wasn't one sort of singular person to blame, and because it was so early on in the process,
Feige hadn't evolved to that person, right?
Yeah, and this was all pre-Phase 3.
Yeah.
I know, like with Age of Ultron, like how they basically broke Joss Whedon. They again, like Feige was up at the front, but he still wasn't the guy yet. No. So
who knows? It might have been different. Yeah, it might have been different if everybody had known Kevin Feige was the guy to pin their anger towards. But then again, many of the people who directed the origin movies in Marvel have not come back to direct the sequels, or if they have, it's diminishing results. Iron Man 2 wasn't that great with Favreau coming back.
Right.
Avengers, Age of Ultron wasn't great with Whedon coming back. So maybe they feel like it's not the right
Whedon,
formula. Branagh didn't come back to direct the second Thor.
Wow. I I put Captain Marvel.
How dare you, sir?
Well, no, I actually, and I said this when it came out. Like, I put the quality. The way I feel about Captain Marvel is actually the way I feel about the first Thor movie, where I don't think the movie itself is that great. Like, I think it's like a mediocre movie.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think Chris Hemsworth in Thor 1 is amazing.
Right.
Like, I think he's great, and I'm glad we got through 2 mediocre Thor movies to get to the Thor movie that we ultimately really deserved.
I like Dark
World.
Yeah, I like Dark World.
Guys.
All right. Yeah.
Guys.
Just when we saw it in the theater, we just had such a great
Oh, that's the one that you guys ditched me for. Forgot until just now.
Selfie. Yeah, I know. You're right.
I was so mad.
You were very mad.
I was so mad.
Yes.
But like I'm saying, like again, it gets to that thing. Like, I think Marvel has that patience. Like, Captain Marvel is a good character. Brie Larson was good casting.
Yeah.
The movie, fine.
Right.
And so taking the idea of who she is, taking the idea of the Skrulls and the way that they've established them, taking the Kree, like all the things that are there, that are on the table, that are all good things, and putting them in the hands of better people, you hope that we're going to get a Captain Marvel 2 that's on the level of like a Thor 3 or
Winter Soldier.
Or a Winter Soldier, where you're all of a sudden just like, you just feel like the whole game has been upped.
Yeah.
So I think it mostly makes me excited.
Right on.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, we'll see what happens. I mean, certainly there are a lot to explore with the Captain Marvel storylines and villains and the world itself. And we're going to go cosmic with Sword, right? That's the ship that is out there with Sam Jackson, or Nick Fury, rather. So there's going to be a lot more they're going to go out there and explore in the cosmic world. So maybe you want to have a director that's a little more expansive in their approach. Nothing against Fleck and Bowden, but maybe that's the smarter move at this point. Yeah. We'll see. All right, well, that's this episode of the Geek Buddies. Thank you all so much for watching or listening.
Or both
to us here and putting up with this kind of makeshift approach that we've got. We're trying out. It's our first episode on camera. Certainly going to get better in terms of the look and the appeal of it. So we're trying it out, and I appreciate you all being patient about it. But I wanted you to see these beautiful faces. You see my face all the time on different shows, but these guys, I think I want you to connect to these guys and really understand how much knowledge is in this room right now about film and television and geek stuff. Yeah,
and over there.
Yeah, right there. That's right. All right, what do we got to say, Shannon?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies, on Instagram, @the_geek_buddies. If you would like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's @Shannon_McClung, on Instagram, @Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel on both platforms, it's @MKTune. If you'd like to follow Mr. Rocha, it's @TheRocha And also, I'm going to be on Brooklyn Nine-Nine next Thursday, February 6th.
Tweet about it when you see it.
And hey, go get your flu shots. I want you to get your flu shots. I want you to stay healthy. I want you to drink lots of liquids. And once you've taken that shot, and once you come home and you're reflecting on the fact that you did the right thing, you want to give us some stars, give us some comments, give us some ratings on wherever you watched us, on YouTube, on Anchor, on iTunes, wherever, Spotify, whatever it is. The more that you rate us, the more that you give us comments, the more that you give us stars, the more that you get us out there, the more that you retweet us, the more that you tell other people to check us out, the better it is, the more followers we have, the more people we invite to the conversation, and the more geek news we get to bring you in more new and inventive technological ways now that this guy has nothing else to do except expand his empire.
I guess, yeah. That's a positive spin. I'll use that next time I have an anxiety attack. All right, well, there you go. Yeah, thanks, everyone, for watching this episode or listening to this episode both. We love it, and thanks so much. Maybe let us know what you thought about seeing us on camera, interact, and what have you, all of that jazz, and we'll talk to you.
Let us know how we looked.
Yeah, let us know how we looked, especially. And look for our Picard review as well, coming as well for the first 2 episodes of Picard that dropped on CBS All Access. We'll talk to you next time on The Geek Buddies!